Good evening and welcome to Dad Bods, Crab Cakes, and Sports, where husky middle aged men share insight on the latest Baltimore sports news. From the bank to the yard and beyond, we're breaking down the Ravens, Orioles, Terps, and more. Baltimore's best sports podcast starts now. Good evening, everyone. Mike, John, good to see you.
Good to see
I
you, Jason.
am
Good
also
evening.
here and I am victorious. Victorious am I. In our contest of picking the Orioles wins, you two are losers, and I'm the winner. John, you went 3-3. Mike, you were the pessimist. You were the Weisbecker of this group, and you went 2-4. And I went out on a limb and said they would be 4-2. It's not the way I thought it would work. I thought they would win 2 games in each series, but I'll take the sweep at the end. But yeah, I mean, good start. How about you guys? Besides watching me win all weekend, as you can see, my pirate hat for the Orioles. What have you been up to, Mike? I see you're back from vacation.
Yeah, I'm back in the comfort zone of the studio here in Baltimore. But we had a great beach week down in Fenwick, and I guess we celebrated 4th of July, which was exciting this weekend. We did glow sticks with the red, white, and blue. We got the little poppers, that you throw on the ground, snap. They make lots of noise, makes the kids excited. Watch some fireworks. It was a good 4th of July weekend. Other than that, traveling back from the beach on 4th of July weekend is pretty much a nightmare. So we left early this morning, and it only took 3.5 hours. It should take 2:45, but I will take 3.5 on 4th of July weekend.
No kidding. Gosh. Yeah, I mean, I grew up not going to Ocean City, Maryland very often, but the times I did, like in my adult life, I would purposely never leave until like 7 o'clock at night or later, so I wouldn't have to sit in that crap. But John, what about you? What have you done? Anything exciting?
Nothing exciting. I just had to put actually, we got, for the first time in my 10 years in the car business, we got a 4th of July off. That was kind of nice. And that doesn't usually happen because they're always like, well, people are off that day and they're going to come in and buy cars. And, but this year I just got to hang out, went to B-Dubs with my friend, and we watched some baseball games and whatever else was on there. But I was telling Mike, Jason, I tasted like my new favorite, I think, adult beverage. It was like half Mountain Dew and half house beer. And it was evidently, I did a little research on this, and it was something that the Germans started in the early 1900s. And now at B-Dubs, you can get a glass of half beer, half Mountain Dew for $3 to go along with the $10 all-you-can-eat appetizers for up to 4 people. It was it was a great day.
Wait, so the Germans had Mountain Dew in the early 1900s?
I guess, or just soda. I don't know. It did specify Mountain Dew, but I'm assuming it's just soda. But who knows?
Funny.
But it was good. Whatever it was, it was good. It was a good way to celebrate the 4th. Sat there a couple hours.
Man, that was Hitler's problem. Shitty beer. That makes perfect sense.
That was one of his problems, Jason. One of his problems.
I was hopped up on Mountain Dew.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, thank you, Adolf. Appreciate it, buddy. Just there
hey, speaking of Talladega Nights, we got a bunch of feedback on our sports movies. That was kind of fun conversation if you follow along on our Facebook page. So thanks to everybody who chimed in on that.
Yes, we do like the participation. We really do. It's it makes it like seem like somebody's paying attention to what we're doing here. Goodness gracious.
I think, Jason, we passed 1,200 total downloads of all of our episodes. So that's a great milestone, and a big thank you to all of the people who listen to us each and every week. That really made my day when I looked that up, and I'm like, wow, 1,200 people that actually listen to us talk for an hour and a half. That's amazing.
I mean, I'll take it, man. Anything, we're on our way. We'll say that. I don't know which way that is, up, down, all around, but we're doing something.
Absolutely.
Oh my heavens. Well, so not a whole lot going on here, and other than grandchild watching and all that stuff. Jess is still recovering from surgery, so I have been pulling double duty. And then my daughter asked me if I could watch the baby for several hours, which was stuff trying to corral multiple children, one being a 3-week old, the other being 7, and then the other being 11. Although the 11-year-old usually sleeps till 1 or 2 in the afternoon, so like that's usually not the big of a problem. Summer break.
So Jason, let's say before this, when was the last time you had to change a diaper? Before this week or two?
Well, I mean, my son, being autistic, is still in a diaper, and that is a very tough.
So you're still in
situation.
practice then, though, at least.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, it's not even a contest.
I don't know if I could do it right now. I don't know.
The correct question was like that. Oh, can you guys hear me?
You're freezing up.
At least you're having some freezing on us, Jason. You're having a little technical difficulties over there.
Well, what I was saying was, the correct question would have been, when was the last time you changed a diaper the size of Scotch tape? That should have been the question. And that, my friend, very long time. Very long time. I can tell you. Well, also all of our blood work is still pouring in on our blood test that Jess and I took. For the most part, I mean, things are going well. I don't think I told you guys this before, but they have your age, obviously, and then they have your biological age based on all your blood tests and your blood work. Okay. So my wife gets hers back, and I thought I'd been healthy the majority of, I eat healthier, I do all this stuff. So Jess gets hers back, and she is 32 and a half years old biologically. So it's almost a 12-year difference. 12-year difference. So I'm like, yes! And she got hers back first because I did mine afterwards. I'm like, yes, okay, this is good for me. This is great. So I go take mine, and it says 42 and a half years old. I'm like, 0.3. I'm like, well, this is BS. This is stupid.
Man, you're right on point, Jason. You're right on point.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm younger slightly, apparently. But the factors that, for me, that come on there were 3 factors when they were testing that, or 6 negatives that came up for me. 3 of them were all diabetes related. And I'm like, yeah. One goes, your blood sugar was 126. And the average blood sugar for a diabetic is anywhere from 80 to 130-ish, in that range. Mine was 126. Perfect for me, right? For a normal person, it's anywhere from 80 to 120. So they're going on a normal person. So I get dinged for that. I get dinged for my hemoglobin A1C, which is your 3-month test. So anything diabetic related, it flagged me. I'm like, did you forget I was a diabetic? I put that in the paperwork. I'm like, all right, fine. So then I'm going through, but then there were some, unfortunately, there's a couple negatives. One is it's like a lipoprotein that everything is caused by lack of sleep, stress, essentially my life in a nutshell. So I get dinged with that. And then there was one that came up for both of us that Jess and I are, it's like, if you're between, you want to be under 80. And both of us are 180 and 170 more susceptible to heart disease and heart attacks and strokes and all this. We're like, oh, crap. So big changes going on over here as far as going all natural for the majority of stuff, going out of no more processed foods pretty much for the majority, which I already do. But we're just trying to clean up a lot of that kind of stuff, at least for us, because we would like to live both without having massive heart attacks at 60. So
that really certainly helps you to live. Yeah, it helps you to live, to not have a heart attack for sure.
Yeah, that's what we're going for.
Hey, I was reading, there's a book called Atomic Habits. I know it's pretty popular. It's a bestseller. and I was reading a little bit of that at the beach this week. So I found it interesting that a lot of the eating habits that you have come from the triggers and not just necessarily eating so what you have laying around on your counter and like that kind of stuff, not necessarily that you're hungry or whatever it is. It's kind of like what you have. And our biggest issue I think here is, we try to meal plan, but sometimes time gets tough. So it's like, I think meal planning is a big step for us in our direction that we're going to try to do this coming fall, or just try to be a little bit on that more on Sundays and try to get the week planned out and have things cut up. Like you have your fruit cut up into pieces and ready to go versus having it hidden away and that kind of stuff around the counter. And because, it's so easy to grab, if you have cookies on the counter or chips or anything you shouldn't have, basically, so much easier to grab that kind of thing versus go ahead and take a little healthier option. But I don't have any problem eating the healthier option. It's just not there, so I don't eat it. So it's one of those things where I like those healthy foods. And obviously it's a little more expensive to eat healthy. But for me, I think that's something I'm going to try to work on in the fall so that my dad bod doesn't get too out of hand. I think I got my belly sunburn this week because it stuck out too much in the old sunshine. So I gotta work on that dad bod a little bit.
Fabulous. Well, the meal prepping thing is probably like one of the biggest things. If you can do that, that cuts down on so much stuff, because usually it's like you come home from work or you're doing something, you're like, I don't feel like doing this. Oh, bag of chips. Let's do that. It's like something easier. You start snacking. Snacking's like the other thing that's like one of the worst things you can do, I guess. But but the meal prepping, man, that's golden if you can do that, especially if you can get the whole family on board. Unfortunately, we have like a house of 6.5 right now, and it's like everyone eats something different. And I'm like, well, this is terrible. This is terrible. Like one doesn't eat like certain kinds of meats. They're like, oh my God, that's red. Well, no shit, it's red. It's meat. Red meat. Like, what the hell? Like,
Yes,
get that
yes, it is.
away. I'm like, okay, great.
And you got a variety of ages in that house too.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, look, I'm not like this health thing that Jess and I are doing. Like, it's not we're not pushing it obviously on the kids. Like, that's to come. Like, they slowly things will start disappearing from the house that like will eventually kill everyone. But like right now we're good. we don't need to force that. So it's like Allie pretty much eats whatever we do. Like we're starting to get to that point. She likes to try different things. She likes meat. So that's an easy one. So, well, I think we've gotten to the point where we've bored everyone to death with my health kicks and my health speaks. So we should talk about something exciting, like your punishments for this show. Don't think I forgot. Your punishment for me going 4-2, and you're not going 4-2. All right, John, how are your accents?
Not good. Not good at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to hear them because until I decide that I can't deal with it anymore for this show, you are going to speak in a British accent. Okay. Huh. And Mike, you are going to end.
Bloody hell.
There you go. Well done. Mike, you're going to end everything you're saying, every point, every sentence you're saying with the phrase in bed.
Oh, good. In bed.
There you go. Well done,
Oh,
Mike.
my God. That is awful. That is a terrible idea, Jason.
Oh, my gosh. Work harder, John. Work harder.
Terrible. Bloody hell. Bloody.
Well
you just act like the Gordon Ramsay.
You can't just say bloody a million times, John, in bed.
John, do you have a better accent besides a British accent, or is that it? If you have a better one, like do you have a Chinese accent, like a Jamaican? Do you have anything?
Yeah, man. We can do the Jamaican. There's lots of islanders down here in these parts.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you do it.
You betcha.
You know what? I'll give you autonomy. You can switch back and forth between as many accents as you want.
Did you say you betcha like you're from North Dakota at the end of your Jamaican accent? In bed.
In bed. Okay. This is going off the rails, but it's going to be fun. All right. So let's talk demos, hon. They did go 4-2. They obviously the Rangers, we already talked about that series. Going 1-2 in that series, but they did sweep the Atlanta Braves over the weekend. Kind of up and down performances pitching wise, but I mean, they got the job done. I mean, as far as things goes today, I mean, Trevor Rogers, like, oh boy. I mean, I guess Kyle Stowers, and we'll talk about that later, did get selected for the All-Star team for Miami. I mean, again, I keep seeing things pop up about that trade and how we got the back end of it. I'm telling you, if this guy ends up continuing to go, even if he does half of what he's doing right now for the next year or two, that trade is a win for us. I don't care what anybody says, because I mean, Stowers, again, because then if you think about it, it'll just be one for the other. Because I don't think both these guys, Norby and Stowers, are going to turn out to be all that great. But that's a discussion for either later or a different day. But Mike, what did you think about the Atlanta series? Like, where are you as far as everything goes, besides being upset that you lost?
No, I'm okay. I'm over it because, like you said, Jason, when you pick 2 and 4, you either win the bet or you're excited because the O's won. So I'm happy. I'm still a happy camper. The sweep was excellent. I think close games, which especially that extra inning game, yesterday was exciting. Jacob Stallings, who coming through with a big hit in the was at the 10th inning, I believe. He lined a double to left field and 2 runners scored, and that kind of put the game out of reach. That was really exciting. Like you said, you've already Trevor Rogers had 6 2/3 of excellent pitching again. I thought that was really good. Charlie Morton looked good in the first game of the series again. He looks like the Charlie Morton that was advertised when we signed him in the offseason, which is really good. Hopefully his trade value is kicking up because, man, I think that's a piece where he's probably retiring or he's not a piece of the future for the Orioles. So if there's any way you can get him out of Dodge and get something for him, if he can keep performing like this, that's excellent, not only for the team currently, but for the future as well. So pitching wise, that's excellent. Jackson Holiday went 4 for 4 today with a double and a bomb, and he was basically the Orioles offense. And I know we'll talk, I'm sure, about he didn't get the All-Star nod, but he had performed like an All-Star today. You spoke about Stowers, Jason. I think he got the All-Star nod, but he performed well earlier in the year. He's kind of backed down a little bit. And, I think Miami needed to have an All-Star, and he might have just been that guy. They're talking about how Soto got snubbed, obviously, in the place of I think that Soto is a better baseball player than Kyle Stowers, but I know they kind of look at the numbers, and they had to give the team a nod to somebody on that Miami Marlins team.
Yeah, and remind me to ask you guys to discuss this when we get to the All-Star segment that we're going to do, a little teaser there. But I want to know your thoughts on every team having to be represented. And again, just think we're going to go ahead and we'll discuss that later. But it can leave some guys off and it might not. But John, what are your thoughts as far as how things went this weekend? I mean, again, pitching, Morton pitched well, like Mike said. Obviously the bullpen was pretty lights out all weekend long.
Well, I think that taking Cano down to the minors, I think that was a good move for them. He's pitched 2 straight days. 2 straight days, man. He's pitched 2 straight days without giving up a hit or a run. So, they talk about you go down to the minors and you either do one of 2 things. You either mope about it or you work on yourself and you get better. And he looks much more like the All-Star game, man. Yeah, man. He is going back to the All-Star game. He's got it all in line. And I think it's
freaking
amazing.
Fabulous, John. I think you're going to have to do this every show. I mean, I think we've discovered.
We might get more listeners with John talking like this in bed.
Yay! It's working. Good times, everyone.
Yeah, man. It is a good show. He put on a good show. But I like that. I was talking to Mike about this before, that I think that the getting into their bullpen pitching day yesterday was the big thing for the whole game today, that we could make them use the starter longer. And obviously we didn't score a lot of runs, but man, it is what it is. And it looks good that our bullpen is back in action. And as long as we can get Cano back to his former glory days, back when he was the All-Star, we will be very good to go, I think. Yeah, man.
Well, That's fabulous. You sound like an Indian fellow that's visiting Jamaica.
I think he's Irish Jamaican. It's like top of the morning, man, in bed.
I love it. Oh, good. Well, so I was actually thinking, watching today's game, I'm like, oh, if Jackson Holiday goes off for a couple home runs or whatever after he hit his first home run, I went, oh boy. And then he goes 4 for 4. I'm like, oh, he's kind of a lock. But then once you start seeing different guys, like, I believe Brendan Lowe, he actually has pretty good numbers too, as far as hitting the ball over the fence. I don't know if I can get that upset about that. What other Rays were there any other Rays?
Lau batted 272 with 19 home runs and 50 RBIs right now. I think that's pretty solid.
He should have probably started, to be honest with you.
Jonathan Aranda. Jonathan
Aranda's an all-star too?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, all those guys. I have both those guys on my fantasy lineup, so those guys are definitely deserving of that.
And I don't have them, so they're definitely deserving as well.
Yes, absolutely. In bed. Oh, Mike, you're doing a fabulous job. I love it. Well, yeah, it is getting interesting because they're now 9 games below 500, and obviously the next 6 games here could be a determining factor on what they want to do. They could keep sneaking a little closer. I don't know if they've already made their mind up on if they're sellers or if they're buyers or if they're just waiting. There's still a decent amount of time there. In my mind, I still think you sell some pieces. Mike, you had a question to me off air about Laureano and my opinion on that. Because he has an option. I am perfectly fine if they decide to pick up that option, unless they get blown away with a trade offer. Because if you start going through and saying, yeah, trade this guy, again, I've said this over the last month, probably, they're not that far off with a couple key acquisitions here and there and a couple moves, guys getting healthy. So I wouldn't go nuts where you're going to have to start replacing a whole bunch of stuff. So as far as I go, Mike, Laureano for me would be go ahead and pick that option up unless you get blown away with a deal, because you need the outfield.
I don't disagree necessarily. I think the talk was, and I was listening to the Locked On Orioles podcast, and they did a good job of breaking it down, but he might be the most valuable player we have to trade at the moment just because he's playing well, number one. Our other guys who are on the trade block, like Cedric Mullins, they're not playing particularly well, especially outfield wise. Zach Eflin is hurt. O'Hearn's still doing well, but he again isn't a guy you're going to play in the field probably every day for a contending team. So Laureano, with the defense, the ability to run the bases, solid outfield arm, and the way he's hitting the baseball, it's like he is the best player, maybe trade wise or chip that we have right now. But like Jason said, I think he's got a $6 million or something team option for next year that you can pick up. So if you're going to have to replace that in the offseason for $6 million, I don't think you're going to be able to do that. Think about what they paid for Tyler O'Neill in the offseason for a right-handed hitting outfield bat. Like, you're not going to be able to find that for $6 million in the offseason. But obviously he's been a streaky player his whole career, so he's playing well. Does he play that well throughout the rest of the season? I'm not certain. But I don't have an issue if the Orioles hold on to Laureano. I hope that they can get a bag for him, honestly. And if they can't, then they should just hold on to him in bed.
And John, what are your thoughts on Laureano specifically?
I really like him, man. He's been a good outfielder. He had that throw to the plate last week where he was kind of off balance and just threw a strike, and we couldn't obviously catch the ball at the plate because Gary Sanchez's head is stuck up his ass. But I don't know what else is going on there. But I like it. I like it as an outfield defensive perspective as well as the offense. I think that his strong throwing arm is something that is going to be great for the rest of the season. But that $6 million option too is very inexpensive.
Yeah, and with I had texted you guys earlier or said earlier that I mean Laureano definitely you could call him the MVP so far for the Orioles this year. And if you think about it, he is the closest to a 5-tool player that they probably have right now that's playing up. I mean, obviously Gunnar, Jackson, Holiday, but I mean, you can put him right up there. He doesn't steal as much, but he can. I mean, but as far as his defense, and I mean, he's got plus everywhere. So what I'm thinking is that, Gunnar is due. If Gunnar is good as what I think he is and how he was last year, what if his first half last year is actually his second half this year? And he starts carrying the team, because you had O'Hearn carrying the team for a couple games here and there, Laureano carrying the team for now. If you have multiple guys doing it, that'd be great. So I don't want to say. See, I do think Elias has his work cut out for him, because I do think the team got really upset with him a couple years ago because he tried to trade everybody off where they thought they had a chance of winning. I don't think this team is long for the playoffs, like deep into the playoffs, but you never know, I guess. So I guess you have to wait it out a little bit. And if teams come a calling, see what you can do. I mean, O'Hearn for me, Laureano for a big deal. But like Mike, as I've been talking about, and you too, you can get a haul during the trade deadline for a lot of these players. So you have to have your ears open, because there could be some deals to be had. And I wouldn't say that they shouldn't add guys. Like, why do we have to just sell things? Like, why is everything got to be a sale? Like, I mean, you want to know why you have to sell things? Because you're starting to realize that some of these minor leaguers aren't as good as everyone thought they were, thought that the Orioles think they are, and they're getting exposed. So that might be why they can't sell things. But if they don't figure out pitching wise, like I mean, we keep talking about like Eflin is being on the trade deadline or trade block, but what are they going to do next year? I mean, you're not going to go out and sign 3 pitchers for $100 million a pop. Like, they're not there. You're not going to win out on every free agent pitcher. So you have to do something creative here. Now, you're hoping Bradish comes back. Grayson's a question mark as far as his injury history. But if both those guys come back and Eflin comes back and you sign an ace on top of it to pair that ace with Bradish, all of a sudden or you sign 2 aces. Like, you could do 2. But the bat market didn't really impress me other than Alonso and Bregman. I mean, if you don't get one of those guys, then you're kind of second tier. But I mean, Laureano wasn't even in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth tier. So who knows? But yeah, I mean, that's where I'm, Mike. I'm okay with whatever they do at this point, to be honest with you.
I'm somewhat with you, Jason. I think they do need to do something, and I think what something is yet to be determined based on what they do in the next few weeks. But like you said, the volatility of prospects in baseball it's crazy. Like, you can have a first round pick that just doesn't pan out at all. You can have a 7th round pick that's a perennial all-star. It's just not like the NBA or the NFL. I mean, you get one in the NFL once in a while, but like usually baseball is a little more volatile. I mean, I think the guy that they just signed Alex Jackson or traded for Alex Jackson as a backup catcher. Now we got the combination of Stallings and Jackson behind the plate, ready to rock and roll in Baltimore here as our backstops. But
that sounds like a world war. That sounds like a civil war battle happening back there.
A Jamaican Civil War, an American Civil War, John.
An American Civil War, man.
Yeah. I think Jackson was a first-round pick of the Mariners maybe or something a long time back. So, like, there's an example of somebody who didn't pan out, a prospect who has not panned out. That's going to happen once in a while. So the Orioles do need to realize, I don't know if Kobe Mayo is going to pan out. Is Heston Kjerstad going to pan out? The odds are one of them isn't probably. So why not move on from one of them? And if you're going to get something back of value, right? But you got to trade them before they lose all potential value. The other thing that you said, Jason, is why can't we be buyers and sellers? I don't disagree with that in any way, shape, or form. I think that, if you can trade Cedric Mullins and you can trade, maybe you trade Soto or Sir Anthony from the bullpen and you get something back for those guys, that's great. But maybe you can trade a younger guy like a Kjerstad or a Mayo and then get a major league player, a pitcher. Maybe it's a veteran, like they talked about, maybe Mitch Keller being an option from Pittsburgh. That could be somebody you bring in and now you have him for a few years. And now there's another pitcher in your starting rotation that can help you for years down the road. They kind of did that with Rodgers last year. They weren't really trading for this year, last year for him. They were trading for this year and the future with him. And he's panned out now this year and looks good. He looks like a stud, looks like a number 2 starter right now. And if that's the case, man, the jury should still be out on that deal. I know people were tearing down the walls for Stowers and Norby, but we shall see how that will progress based on how his performance is for the rest of the year and beyond. But why not strengthen the starting rotation at this point if you have a chance to during the season? So no reason not to be buyers and sellers. John, what's your thoughts in bed?
Well, what do you think about trading Batista? Do you think that? I think that is a bad idea because I don't think you're going to find another closer like him. But if the right deal comes calling from one of the more high contending teams, do we trade Batista for maybe a middle line to upper line starter and a high level minor leaguer, 1 or 2, 3 in an organization or something like that? Jason, what do you think about that?
So you saw what happened last year when you were a contending team and you didn't have a guy that could close out the games. It pretty much cost you the division, as far as I'm concerned, with not having Batista there last year. Now, on the other hand of all of that, if it's got to be one of the organization's top prospects. Absolutely one of their top prospects. Cannot be a mid-level guy for that. Now, I don't know his contract situation, but is he a free agent next year? Like, somebody keeps putting on these social message boards that, like, oh, we have to sign Batista, like he's gonna be a free agent. And for some reason, I thought we still had him under control. But whatever the case may be, I would definitely listen to offers. But again, if it's the Phillies, I want Andrew Painter. You don't want to give me Andrew Painter? Fine, goodbye. And if Abel's not going to do it for me. Not for him. Yes, John.
It says
2028.
2028. He's an unrestricted free agent. He has arbitration this year.
So that makes him even more expensive because he's under control for the next 2 or 3 baseball seasons. So it's like, I know. I don't know how you feel, Mike, but it's got to be like Verlander going back to Houston last year. Houston gave up like their top 1 or 2 prospects for him, which is crazy. But that's what it would cost for Felix Bautista for me to want to part with him. And they'd be crazy not to demand that. And if it's not a frontline pitcher, it's got to be a guy that's blocked, that's hitting like 340 in the minors, who's your next big thing from an organization that is being blocked by Aaron Judge or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like that's what it would cost in my eyes. So I don't know where you're at, Mike.
No, I feel the same way. I don't part ways with Batista. Probably it would have to knock me over. And I don't think anyone's going to do that. They're just too valuable. Those prospects you're talking about, Jason, they're just too valuable for a single bullpen arm, probably. Maybe there's a team the Dodgers, there are teams that do, I would consider not stupid, but, a little bit risky things all the time, especially teams that like to spend money, the Mets, the Dodgers, those types of teams, they'll make those kind of moves. But like you said, Jason, you got to hold them ransom. You got to hold these teams to a standard if you're going to do anything like that. Bautista is your closer for the next 3 or 4 years, and he just had his Tommy John surgery. So, he should be, not that it's guaranteed, but he should be good for a bit, which, man, you can see the difference this year at the end of ball games. I just feel way more confident watching the team play with him closing out games than I did last year. So if it's just a comfort level with a real closer like that in the back end. And even though we're not contending, I hope to be next year.
So I've always been I'm a big proponent of like your bullpen isn't like you can replace that. I'm not so sure you can replace the very back end of your bullpen as easily. So we keep talking about extending guys. That would be a guy I would just go ahead and extend. I mean, he reminds me so much of Lee Smith. Like I just can't get it out of my brain. And he throws harder than Lee Smith did. So it's to me that would be a guy I would start extension talks with, unless you were absolutely blown away. So there you go, John. That's my answer to you. Last thing, Orioles wise, I just wanted to run by you. We don't have to dwell on this very long, but I was waiting for it. I knew it was going to happen. It seems like the world is like the baseball gods are clamoring and doing everything they can to get Samuel Basallo up here as the Orioles catcher, as they have lost they're now in their like fifth or sixth catcher. John, where are you sitting on this one?
I still keep him down there for the rest of the season. I don't think you bring him up here in an emergency. I think you leave him down there, give him a fresh start next year. You keep just grabbing guys off the trash heap of the other organizations, and then eventually bring him back here. But the beginning of next year, because I do not see us having Ryan Mountcastle. So you're going to have to move Adley to first base or move Basallo to first base, something along those lines, man. So we're going to keep him down there till the end of the season, and then next year we'll start him fresh behind the plate or at first base.
Mike?
Yeah, and for those of you just tuning in, John didn't have some type of traumatic, brain issue with this thing going on right here, right, John? He has lost a bet to Jason and has to speak in a Jamaican accent, and I have to say "in bed" after every sentence I say. In bed.
Which, by the way, you're not doing a very good job of.
No, John's way better than me at this.
No, man, it's not working.
Anyway, with Basallo, they're not bringing him up. They have found every way to not bring him up humanly possible. Like any chance that they have, they're going to trade or on the free agent market to find the leftovers at catcher, and they'll continue to plug those holes until Adley's healthy or Sanchez comes back, or I can't remember their other catcher. Oh, Chadwick Tromp, all those guys who caught for us in the last year are still around. They'll be healthy eventually, and we'll see Basallo hopefully come next year.
Okay, so do you guys want to know something about this new catch? Do you want to know something about this new catcher? I just spoke with my friend Grant Dayton, who pitched to Alex Jackson and knows Alex Jackson. He says he's a really good catcher. He calls a good game behind the plate. He's got tons of power if he gets hot. So he's not hot very often. He's a good pickup, minimal risk with tons of upside. So, man.
He's hitting 132, man.
Yeah, man.
It's clear, man.
He's got 10 knocks so far, though.
Yeah. That's in the minors, right?
Yeah.
Check out the major league stats.
See, the Yankees kept him in their organization long enough. Like, for me, I'm okay with it. The reason I brought this question up is because, again, read these social media posts and whatnot. And, this is the right move. Like, I'm not – it's okay. Like, we're fine with it. They said this. Their hope. I have a feeling it also means that Adley's coming back a lot sooner, in my eyes, because unless he's going to come in and play every single day, they're not going to bring him up. And to me, it's too much of a risk to have another prospect flame out or who's not ready. He's not knocking the door. He's not batting 375 in the minors with 25 home runs. He's doing well, but it's not like he's the best player in AAA right now. So, he's not doing what Mayo was when they brought Mayo up last year. And look at Mayo. So I'm okay with slow playing your top prospect. So that was it. That was it with what I want to discuss there. So, that wraps it up as far as the O's go. We did want to just briefly talk about the Major League Baseball All-Star Game and the snubs and or selections. Now, Mike, you had mentioned that probably the biggest snub you want to go ahead and elaborate on that?
Well, I just thought Juan Soto, he has 904 OPS, 21 home runs. He's third in runs scored in the NL with 65, leads all of Major League Baseball with 72 walks. Like, he's one of those guys who should almost be penciled in the All-Star game every year. You know, if you look at some other snubs, if you look, Framber Valdez is a pitcher, for Houston. He's, top of the tier starter, 10-4 with a 2.9 ERA, 115 strikeouts and 115 innings. Like, he's a top end, perennial all-star as well that got snubbed from the pitching staff in the American League. So there's my one AL, my one NL guy that I would say were probably most deserving of the all-star nod and didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, it for me, one of the guys that we're talking about who maybe it was tough because the fans voted in Ronald Acuna, and Ronald Acuna, in my mind, that's Soto's spot, and then Acuna comes off the bench. For me, that's the biggest snub would be Juan Soto, and I do want to. I mean, I think pitching wise, Felix Bautista deserved to make it, but that's okay. I'm okay with it. I'm not. I mean, it's hard, John, for us to sit here and say there should be more Orioles on there when the team is in last place.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I think if the Orioles are in the first or the second position in the American League East, I think Jackson Holliday makes that list. I think that Batista makes the list. I think we may get a couple other guys on there, but with them sitting in where they are and dead last, I don't think you're going to be getting a guy like Holliday up there at this point in time, or Batista. And I look here at the snubs list. You got guys like Ranger Suarez from the Philadelphia Phillies. He's 1.99 ERA with 73 strikeouts and only 19 base on balls. You got Valdez, George Springer hitting 285 with 16 home runs. Juan Soto, Trey Turner, guys like that who are having very good seasons, but just with the fan voting and whatnot, and having to get one player from each team on that roster is going to cut out many good baseball players, as you mentioned before, man.
Yeah. And I mean, Mike, were there any pitchers or anything that stuck out? I mean, I know that the managers pretty much they choose their pitchers as well. So, I mean, was there anything that jumped out at you?
I mean, Valdez to me was the big one for Houston. I mean, you could say Joe Ryan potentially from Minnesota. He had 8-4 with a 2.76, 116 strikeouts and 104 innings. That's a pretty good stat line for a starter. To me, those are the guys. I think you made an interesting point, Jason, and maybe we should discuss this, is about whether or not we should have a representative from each team. So, John, do you want to start off with your opinion on that and maybe the why behind it?
Yeah, I think, yeah, sure. I'm not in bed. I'm in my chair in my office, but I think that it's good for the game and to keep all of the fan bases in it. You know what I mean, man? Like, you're gonna turn it on if you have a player from your team on the list, but if not, you may not tune into the game. So I think that it helps to do with a lot of the viewership and a lot of the excitement behind it. Jason?
Right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
what do you think?
So as much as I want to say this player deserves it and that player deserves it, like I'm a purist when it comes to baseball and the All-Star game, and I think what makes it great is the fact that every team is represented with at least one player. And yeah, there's some guys that are going to get snubbed because of it. The only thing you could do is maybe take a little power away from the fans or have a little combination of votes, like fan votes mixed with player, because again, Ronald Acuna missed 3/4 of the first half and he's in the All-Star game and Juan Soto's not. Like, to me, so maybe something like that, but no, I'm a purist and I would love for them to go back to wearing their own uniforms, their team uniforms. I think that would be awesome. Like, get this American National League crap on it. Just let them, I mean, Yeah, I want their uniforms again, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I think the rosters are big enough where you should be able to have one representative from each team. Um, I think fans are more educated than they were previously. I really do. I think fantasy sports, access to stat lines, the more knowledge about war and some of these other advanced statistics, like I think it's more commonplace and it's becoming more and more so in social media. And it's a lot easier to access information on other teams other than your own. So I think you see that, and then I know that you said the Acuna snub, Jason, or the Soto snub for Acuna. I can't say that Acuna. That is part of the voting with the fans, but the fans, bless you, also did some voting with the Rays and with the Tigers, where they recognized some of these players, and with Pete Crow Armstrong and some of these guys who were having really good Wilson that we talked about last episode, the shortstop from the Athletics, like they recognize these guys are having great seasons. So I would say the fans are doing a much better job of being in tune with what's going on with the league. I would love to see, a lot of times the injuries take care of some of this stuff where some of these guys end up making it eventually anyway because a guy gets hurt here or there. But I would like to see maybe expand the roster a hair if you need to. We're familiar with, remember the 93 All-Star game in Baltimore where Cito Gaston didn't pitch, was it Mussina, because he was holding them back in case they needed to go long when there was extra innings. There's that frustration that can go along with your players not playing. I think I'd rather be there at least and be represented and not play and just be on the team. I think that would be okay if that were the case, if you want to get all these guys in who deserve it. But
yeah, I mean, in bed. Well done. Okay, look, the punishment is finished. John, you did an outstanding job. Very proud of you. Mike, you did a very subpar job on your punishment, but I appreciate the effort anyway.
Let me ask you guys this question. I was thinking about this. What would you guys think about like what they do in Pro Bowl and in basketball and things? Like if you have if you had Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. as the managers and they could pick their teams on each
baseball
side.
Purist. No, baseball purist.
Yeah, I'm out on that, John. I don't like that. Hey, what's this thing with this legend pick? Did you guys see that Clayton Kershaw was the commissioner's legend pick? What does that mean?
They did that a couple years ago. They did that with the Miguel Cabrera got it, and whoever else. There was somebody. Oh, and Pujols, when they were about to retire. There's the commissioner gets to choose a player that gets a legendary status. So he gets to pick somebody, most likely a future Hall of Famer, to come in and play.
Okay.
Which I'm cool with. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
I mean, I don't want to say I'm so old school that they can't bring in some new rules and new little things. But I don't think, like you said, I would love for them to go back to wearing their individual uniforms. I thought that was cool. Then you spot your guys right away, and they're repping those uniforms. Now, there still could be some pitchers in there. So, like, if some guys pitch on Sunday before the All-Star game, you might get an Oriole in there. Might be a Brian Baker. Might be a what's his face? Felix. Somebody along those lines. But as far as the position players, unless somebody gets hurt, I don't think Jackson Holliday is going to get in there. But no, I mean, hey, I'm hoping he has many, many years to come as an all-star. So we'll see. All right. So Mike or John, I don't care who does it. Do you guys want to tell everybody where they can find us?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Mike.
you can chime in, or you want me to chime in, John? You can find us anywhere you can find free podcasts. That's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you can find a podcast. You can find Dad Bods, Crab Cakes, and Sports. Like us, follow us, give us a 5-star. We love having you guys listen. We're here every Sunday night and every Wednesday night around 9:35 with our live feeds on Facebook Live and YouTube. So watch us, like us, follow us, but don't follow us home. That's weird, but appreciate it.
Or in bed.
Well done, fellas. Well done.
We are on iHeart. We're on iHeart too. I just found that out too. That if you go on iHeart Media, you can find us on their app as well.
All right. Well, fellas,
I heart that, John.
God. So the
Sorry.
Orioles are their next two series are against the Mets and the Marlins before the All-Star break. So that's 6 games. And do you guys have what do you think, John? What is your pick for the next 6 games?
I'm gonna go with the 500. I think they'll win one of 3 against the Mets and 2 of 3 against the Marlins.
And Mike,
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I don't want to be the same.
you can be the same. Be safe.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think we're going to see Sagano pitch a little bit better. Maybe I think he's due to pitch well. He's kind of been poor, and I think we might see Rogers, Kramer, one of those guys take a half step back this week. But we'll see.
So the Marlins are actually surprisingly been playing very well lately, hitting the crap out of the ball, and also pitching well. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go again with 4-2. We're going to give it a shot. I think they're red hot. I was going to say
you're right.
3-3, but we'll give it a go here, and we'll see if I have to speak French next week. We'll go from there.
Oui.
All right. Another big thing that happened right before the show, the finals of the CONCACAF Gold Cup between the U.S. and Mexico. And U.S. fell a little short, 2-1. They had 7 minutes stoppage time at the end. There were a couple things here and there. Mike, did you watch the whole game? There's a couple things I noticed. I noticed that the touch on a lot of the passes and a lot of the balls from the U.S. just didn't seem there. And it seemed that everything that they turned the ball over a lot of times because of these touch passes. And it's like a couple times guys were waiting for the ball to come to them and the Mexican players would step right in front and it would kill a rally as far as I thought. Momentum, if you will.
No, I watched most of the match. I agree. It's the weighting of the pass. That was what they call it. Usually is the weighting of the pass. It wasn't heavy enough at times when you're trying to move the ball quickly and you put some pace on the pass, make the player come to it and trap it. A lot of times they were just kind of light touches where the player didn't come to it. There was some of that going on. We just didn't hold the ball particularly well. Possession was 65-35 most of the game in favor of Mexico. And they are excellent at holding the ball, quick passes. They attacked better centrally than the U.S. did. Just kind of finding little half spaces on the field, which was really impressive the way they kind of moved the ball. Once they got into that central zone in front of the goal, they did a really good job in there. The goal that they scored on the free kick, did you see that, Jason, where they kind of faked the free kick? And what happened was the U.S. defender, you're supposed to hold your line as a defender to keep them off sides, but he kind of took a half step back once they faked the free kick. And that allowed the ball to come across and the guy to give it like a diving header in. He was not offsides because that one defenseman took a half step back. Because originally the goal was disallowed because there was offsides. But then they found out through video replay that he was onsides, in fact, unfortunately. The biggest thing that I took away, Jason, if you're asking for me, was the physical style of play that was allowed by the official. Like they were back and forth, super physical, and Mexico took advantage of that better than the U.S. did. They were holding our forwards. They would have back to the goal. They were trying to turn on those guys, and they had them like bear hugged half the time. We're kind of just pulling them down, but the officials were really letting them be physical and play. And I think it kind of got into the U.S. heads a little bit. I think they didn't back down by any means, but I don't know that they were ready for that physical of a style of play. I thought they handled their business well. They had some attacking opportunities on the counterattack, but again, they didn't possess the ball well enough to get the number of opportunities to hang with Mexico in that match, unfortunately. But I am encouraged by the result from the Gold Cup because coming into the Gold Cup, they did not perform particularly well. And I feel like they at least gained some cohesion, and I think they gained some gumption as a team. So it was nice to see that overall. John, what are your thoughts? John, you're muted, buddy.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I kind of saw the same thing Jason did in like the replays and some of the little bit I saw. It just seemed like Mexico was stepping in front of some of the passes, and just kind of we talked about this couple shows ago about how like the U.S. team just had guys that weren't there, and then guys that were playing in other places and doing other things. But it just seemed Mexico, when I watched it, seemed a little more cohesive in their attacks and in their defense than the U.S. team did. But I'm not, I never played soccer. I don't know. It's very difficult as somebody who doesn't know soccer to know what to be looking at, knowing what you're watching, knowing, okay, this is what's going on, and how, to kind of psychoanalyze, baseball, basketball, football game, I can psychoanalyze. But a soccer game is like, okay, he just stepped in front of him. Was that a problem with the U.S. guy, or was that a good play by the Mexican guy to intercept that pass? Those sorts of things.
Yeah, and Mike, one of the things, it's funny that what you took away from it, because I'm kind of in the same boat, but a little different as far as like the guys that were playing, like all the big stars that are usually on that that are going to be representing the U.S. in the World Cup, they didn't play in this tournament. And so for these guys, like obviously Tim Ream, Adams, I believe, Burkhalter, but I believe Burkhalter will then go back to the bench when some of these other guys come in. It's their top-notch guys weren't there, and they still perform like this.
I think sometimes a lot can be said for that kind of underdog mentality with how you kind of step in and fill for each other. But John, I think that also plays into what you were saying about the cohesion of the team, because I don't think that they've really played together as much, because there's a lot of fill-ins on the U.S. national team right now for the Gold Cup. They didn't have Pulisic. They didn't have Weston McKennie. They didn't have some of your regular guys that you see. They didn't have Gio Reyna. Like, they had some of these guys, though, that stepped up. They had some guys who played really well. Tillman played really well as an attacker. Luna played excellent as an attacker during the match. Their center backs did a good job of clearing today. They positionally, they were in a good spot a lot of the time. So I thought they did well with the aerial balls overall. Again, I think you see it in the lack of with the 1-2 quick balls trying to build out of the back. You see an issue there sometimes because the off the ball movement isn't maybe identical to what you're used to from teammates that you're used to playing with. Maybe there isn't as much off the ball movement because you're unsure about who's moving into which space. So I think some of that maybe showed in this match. But there were also some great connections where there was 7-8 pass sequence and we had a good attack out of it. But it just wasn't as consistent as the Mexico team, building out of the back and then just possessing and finding really sweet spots to hit shots from.
And Mike, one of their best defenders, as I mentioned, is Tim Ream, and he's 37 years old. I believe by the time that World Cup starts, he'll be 38 years old. What is that as far as losing a step and whatnot? What do you think that does to them?
Well, he plays in the back, which I don't think is quite as crucial. I mean, because they're playing a back line, it's not like they're playing a sweeper back or anything like that, where you have to have the blazing speed as you would otherwise. But he needs to just be big, which is, he does really well. He passes the ball very well for a center back. Like he has really good vision, made some really nice passes. He can see how to split lines and break lines with a pass, that dangerous pass. So he brings a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience, a lot of strength in the back to the table. But he is a guy maybe that won't play all 90 plus minutes maybe in every match. I'm not 100% sure. But that's, you have to use your sub wisely come limitations of the World Cup. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and we'll definitely talk more and try to see if we can get some guests on to break down Team USA as they continue to make their run to the Cup next year. All right. So that takes us to our next segment here, which is everyone's favorite game show, Bod Sports Jeopardy. And this week's host is John. And I don't know what accent John's going to do this week, but there you go, John. You can take over.
All right, everybody. Welcome to America's favorite game show, Dad Bod's Jeopardy. I'm your host, John. Today's categories are all about doubles. They all have a common theme about doubles. Double dip, stadiums that hosted World Series and Super Bowls. I'll have another. Players who won World Series as managers and players. And the last category. Retired not once, but twice. Players whose numbers were retired by more than one team. So it all has to do with doubles.
All right. Fabulous.
So I believe, Mike, you were the winner last week. No, Jason, you won last week. So Jason, you can go first.
Oh goody. Let's do double dip for a hundo.
After hosting World Series in 1987 and 1991, this northernmost Super Bowl
Mike.
host stadium. Yes.
Metrodome.
Yes. Hosted Super Bowl 26 in 1992.
Let's do 500.
After numerous name changes, this stadium has hosted 5 Super Bowls and a World Series in 1997 and 2003.
Jason,
Yes.
Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami. I don't know what you're looking for, but Miami.
That is
Player.
acceptable. I also would have accepted Hard Rock Stadium, Pro Player Stadium, Dolphin Stadium, Land Shark Stadium, and Sun Life Stadium. All of those were acceptable answers in my book. All right. You want to go for the last one, Jason?
Yes, please.
This stadium hosted Super Bowls 1 and 7, as well as the 1959 World Series.
You can count, John.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What is the LA Coliseum?
Oh, that wouldn't have been my guess.
It hosted the 59 Dodgers World Series against the White Sox.
Should have been my guess, but it was not. All right.
I thought that one would have stumped you, Jason.
It did.
All right.
All right. I'll have another because it sounds fun for 100.
You remember that? That was a good horse.
How?
Remember that? I was gonna see if you caught that. That's why I named it that, Jason. I was gonna see if you catch that. No,
I said it a few times on vacation this week.
I'm sure. Yes, you did.
All right. Okay. Won a title with the Yankees as a player and then as a manager in 2009.
Jason.
Yes, Jason.
Joe Girardi.
Yes. These next two are more difficult. Do you want to stay in the same category?
Yeah, let's do for 500.
Okay. This miracle maker won a championship in 1956 and 1959 as a player and guided his team to the 1969 championship over the Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, I think I know who it is. Man. I know. All right.
We need to start counting.
I'm not. Yes, start counting.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'll get.
Yes, Jason.
Is it Connie Mack?
No, it's Gil Hodges. He won it with the Brooklyn and Los Angeles Dodgers.
Got it. Whew. All right, let's finish this one up for 1,000.
Okay. This member of quote unquote baseball sad lexicon won the title before the Billy Goat as a player manager of the 1908 Chicago Cubs. Are you guys familiar with baseball sad lexicon? Or would you like me to enlighten you?
Why not? Enlighten away, John.
Okay. This is a poem. These are the saddest of possible words. Tinkers to Evers to this person. Trio of bear cubs and fleeter than birds, Tinkers and Evers and blank. Ruthlessly pricking out Gonfil and Bubble, making a giant hit into a double. Words that are heavy with nothing but trouble, Tinkers to Evers to this person.
I've heard the poem. I don't know the answer.
Wait, what was but you only said one. What was the winning, the managing, and the winning?
Player manager.
He was a player manager. This person won it as a player manager.
No,
he
I don't know. You don't even need to do the countdown.
Don't know.
it was Frank Chance.
Oh, yeah.
The poem is Tinkers
Frankie.
to Evers to Chance. That's the worst words for the hitter to hear is the double play Tinkers to Evers to Chance.
All right.
Okay.
So going into the last category, Mike, you have a hundo and I have 6 hundo. So we're right there.
I told you guys this was going to be tough. I wasn't taking it easy.
John
this
is
time.
angry and out for blood.
I
He
know.
did not like speaking Jamaican.
Come on. Okay. All right. So retired not once but twice. Players who have their numbers retired by more than one team.
For 100.
This Hall of Fame outfielder had his number 20 retired 3 times by 3 separate teams. Number 20 retired 3 times by 3 separate teams. Five.
Mike,
Yes.
Frank Robinson,
Yes. Who are those teams, Mike? Do you know?
Yay.
that'd be Reds, Orioles, and
Indians.
Indians. Okay.
Indians. Yeah.
Yes, Indians.
Good
All
job,
right, Mike, for 500.
Yeah, why not?
You do not want this Hall of Fame pitcher to paint your house because he'll only do the corners. His 31 is retired by 2 separate National League teams.
Mike,
Yes, Mike.
is it Greg Maddux?
Yes.
Yeah.
I heard. I saw Jason's hand start to go up.
That's
but
okay. I didn't say
He
it.
didn't
Yeah.
say. He didn't say Jason. Who was your guess, Jason?
That's who I was going to guess.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I was waiting and then I was questioning myself like an idiot.
It was
Okay.
either that or Tinkers. I couldn't figure it out.
Tinkers.
Tinkers, Johnny Tinkers, Frank, and yeah. Okay, the last clue. This Hall of Fame outfielder had his 29 retired in 1987 at the Metrodome, before the Heavenly Chorus retired it in 1991. (1987) at the Metrodome, 1991 by the Heavenly Chorus.
Oh, crap.
I don't want to risk it.
Five, 4, 3.
I'm going to guess. I'm going
Yes,
to
Jason. Yes, Jason.
Lou Brock.
No.
No.
Mike, any guesses?
Yeah, but I don't want to guess for money though.
Oh, okay. All right. That
Or
is
fake
0.
money. Is it, it's not Dave Winfield, is it?
No. It is Rod Carew.
That's what I was gonna. I don't know why I
I
said.
thought you might get that because he had his number retired by the Twins and then he had his number retired by the Angels.
Yeah, that's why.
All right. So going into Final Jeopardy, Jason, what are the scores? Like I said, this is not an easy one this week.
That was for 1,000.
That was for 1,000. Yes.
Oh, Mike has 700 and I have negative 400. So Mike has won.
Wow, Mike with the
Whoa.
Well, Jason, if you would have just said Greg Maddox, you still would be in the negative, so it wouldn't have mattered.
No. If I wouldn't have guessed at the last one, I would have won.
Yes.
Or I
Okay.
would be winning. I wouldn't be.
Okay. So the final Jeopardy category is the missing trophy. The missing trophy.
Okay.
That's your wagers.
I have no wagers. Nothing to
Yep.
wage.
Nope.
All right. Of all of the men in the 600 career home run club, I am the only member to never win an MVP.
It's awfully quiet on the air here. I'm just going to fill in by speaking a little bit.
Did the music not play?
No
Oh, it
music.
did.
Oh, I
I
didn't
heard
get
the
any
mu-
music.
I heard the
there
music
was,
on
there
my
was
end.
music.
What?
Yeah.
I got
I was. Okay. So Jason, considering you're losing and you've lost your title,
Uh,
what was your guess?
my guess was Mark McGuire.
That is incorrect. Mike, what was your guess?
I guess Sammy Sosa.
No, he won.
That also is incorrect.
Yeah.
It was Jim Tomei.
Mark.
Ah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's
Jim
a good
Tomei.
question. That's a good question.
Yeah.
John.
I didn't even use ChatGPT for any of this. I did all of this myself. ChatGPT made it too easy. So I had to go in and make it much more difficult. So
What year did Mark McGuire win the MVP?
I don't know. It just in my research.
You said
Let
you
me
didn't
see.
research it. You didn't have to.
What? Hang on. Was that a legal question? Why did it everything I
It
read?
doesn't matter
every-
because I'm not going to win anyway.
You're not
but
gonna win
I'm just
anyway.
saying, I
Yeah.
want verification that Mark McGuire did not win the MVP. I'll tell you. Hold on.
Did he? Oh, he didn't win an MVP. Whoops.
Well, there you have it. Illegal question.
Illegal question.
Yep.
How many
did
home
not
runs
win
did
the
he end up
MVP.
with? Oh, you know
That's
why?
good
You know why? He didn't have 600 home runs, Jason. He had 583. That's why I didn't find him. He only had 583 home runs.
It was not an illegal question.
You just were trying to. Yes, he didn't. I didn't think he had 600. That's why I couldn't find him in the 600 list
But Sosa had 609, but he did win an MVP.
in 1998. 1998.
You did.
So
Oh,
we
fabulous.
stumped the Schwab today.
Well, the
That
Schwab
was-
shot himself in the foot.
Well, you still would have missed the last question anyway. So
You can
Yeah.
host next week, Schwab. You can give John your medicine, but take it easy on me, okay? All right.
Fabulous. All right.
Yeah.
Well, do you
I
guys
thought those
have-
were. I was
Yeah,
scared,
I thought
Jason,
that-
but I knew McGuire wasn't on the list for a reason.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have anything else we want to touch on this evening, fellas?
No, we do not. I think that was
All right.
my
Well-
goal with this. Was this to be very difficult?
All
Mikey did a
right.
good job.
I hung
Well,
in there.
We have next upcoming shows. We are going to possibly have a few guests on. We'll give you guys some information on who through Facebook and whatnot. The Major League Baseball draft is coming up, so I am looking to try to get somebody to come on and do that. Even maybe while the draft is going on. You don't know.
Oh, I love
I
that.
might be full of surprises.
Is there a place to place some shekels on that, Jason?
Probably.
That Ethan Holiday will be the first overall pick to the Nats.
You'd have to check Hard Rock for our Floridians, but that's pretty much the only way we have to bet. So we'll see.
Yeah, but I think you guys think everything I read, he's the first overall pick.
Well, did you see the Nats fired their GM and their coach today? So,
Yeah,
Which is really bad timing
yes.
for what they're going to decide to do. I wanted to talk about that briefly earlier, but I forgot. But yeah, I mean, it's like I feel like Dave Martinez was about to get fired the year they won the World Series, but then they started turning things around, so he stayed, and then he earned himself a few extra years because of that. And then Mike Rizzo had like 9 lives, so I don't know. To me, it was surprising that they lasted that long.
Do you like Dave Martinez as a manager? Is that somebody you would consider in Baltimore or no?
No, I don't. I thought that he outkicked his coverage. I think they found lightning in a bottle. I mean, Scherzer and who's the other guy? Who's the other starter that they had?
Strasburg.
Scherzer, Soto, obviously at the time. I mean, everything just kind of came together for them. No, I don't. I'm not a big fan. I don't know who. I mean, I'm sure those conversations will heat up in the future. I don't know which way I want to lean on that yet.
Well, right now,
They-
stand upright and balance on both feet. That'll be the best thing to do. Don't lean.
No leaning.
announce who the interim is there?
I don't know.
They did not announce an interim manager yet. They announced an interim GM. They said they're going to come out with their manager early this week.
I wonder if that also has something to do. Maybe they're having some issues on who they would be taking and some disagreements, and that could have led to firings and whatnot.
Did you guys see the home run that Ethan Holiday hit the other day? It cleared like a grove of trees and the scoreboard over the top of. I mean, I think, what did they say? It was 480 or something. And that could have been from a while back, but I just saw the video and the kid's got monster skills.
Apparently, he's also much bigger than Jackson Holiday was at that age, and he's like more like Matt Holiday.
Yeah, well, Jackson's more built like his mother, whereas Matt was what, 6'3", 6'4"? Matt's a big guy.
Yeah,
you know, Jackson's built now, but he's no,
he wasn't when he, right.
Yeah, so
we'll see. I mean, it's either him or who's the pitcher? Is it Bradford?
Is that the guy from is that the guy from LSU or Vandy?
I think it's LSU. It's between those two guys. Him, and it's just, what direction do you want to go? You know, and again, even though like Major League Baseball is so weird after that, because even after the first pick, the next guy, I mean, the next best rated player may not go for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 picks. It all depends on who can be signed and need and all that stuff. So
Cade Anderson is the name of the pitcher from LSU.
Yeah, it's between Cade Anderson and Ethan Holiday is what I hear as far as the number one pick. So we'll see.
And in my research, I believe that if he goes first overall, if Holiday does, that'll be the first time that brothers have been drafted first overall in the Major League Baseball draft. And it may be the first time they've ever been drafted in the first round. I don't know.
No, the Uptons went 1 and 2.
Oh, that's right. That is right. Yeah.
Not in the same draft, but they went 1, and then like BJ Upton went 1, and then Justin Upton went 2. Or no, maybe it was vice versa.
No, Justin went 1, I think, to the Rays. BJ went 2. Did he go to the Braves? No, the Tigers.
BJ was no, you got that flip. It wasn't BJ. BJ Upton was the Ray. And Justin Upton, yeah.
Well, the other question, while you guys figure out your Uptons, is will the Orioles, take a pitcher, in the first few picks? Because when's the last time you see the Orioles go pitching early in the draft, or are they just going to stick with the whole shortstop, and then get pitching later on in the draft? And obviously, with the possibility to have a few picks early, do they try to spread the money out a little bit like they've done in the past as well, and not sign a top-of-the-line stud pitcher early so that they have some more money to spend later? That'll be interesting to see as well.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion is that they do take the best position player at that time, but they have so many picks all lumped together that they could end up with 2 position players and a pitcher all within the first 90 picks that are all like real quality guys. So I don't think they could go wrong in a lot of ways. I mean, they're the one thing they're not going to do. They're not going to take 3 pitchers. They're not going to take like all in those first few picks there. So it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, we'll see if we can get some people in there a lot smarter than me to discuss what they may or may not be doing. So,
well, Mike, why don't you take us home? Why don't you take us home, Mike?
I will do that. It's going to wrap this puppy up. I appreciate you guys spending this episode with us for Dad Bods, Crab Cakes, and Sports. Please, don't forget to subscribe to us on Red Circle, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcast. And while you're at it, leave us those reviews. They really help us out. We're trying to spread the good word about Baltimore sports far and wide. Follow us on social media for behind-the-scenes actions, memes. We do some polls, some bad sports takes. You can find us at dadbods_crabcakes_sports on Instagram and at dadbods crabcakes and sports on our Facebook page. you have a question or topic you'd like us to cover, hit us up at dadbodscrabcakesandsports@gmail.com. And you never know, you might just get a shout out on the next episode. But until next time, keep rocking those dad bods, eating those crab cakes, and never miss the game.
Adios.
Adios.